Everyone wants change, but no one wants to wait for it. We want the breakthrough, the moment, the big leap. We chase intensity. We ignore consistency. And then we wonder why nothing sticks. But what if the secret was this simple? 1% every day. Not to impress, but to evolve. This isn't hype. This is math. This is mental reprogramming. If you're tired of starting over, if you're ready to stop sabotaging progress, if you're willing to go deeper than motivation, this video is for you. Let's begin. One chapter at a time. One shift at a time. This is your reset. This is Mental Shift Academy. Chapter 1. The illusion of big change. We've been lied to. Change isn't one big moment. It's not a switch. It's not a movie montage. But that's what we expect. The big decision. The perfect plan. The instant transformation. It looks great on Instagram, but it doesn't last. Why? Because big change overwhelms the system. It spikes your energy, then burns it out. You can't maintain a sprint on a path that takes years. So you crash. You stop. You start over. Again and again. Big change is seductive. But small change? That's sustainable. Big change excites the ego. Small change rewires the brain. And the truth is, no one needs a miracle. They just need a method. And that method starts with 1%. That's the shift. Chapter 2. What 1% really means. 1% sounds like nothing. Like it wouldn't matter. Like it's too small to count. But here's the truth. 1% is direction, not distance. It's momentum, not magic. It's the choice to move when it's easier to stay the same. It's one more rep, one honest sentence, one decision you didn't postpone. 1% isn't a transformation. It's a signal. It tells your brain, we don't live there anymore. We are not that version of us. We're moving. And when you do that every day, it stacks. Not like addition, like multiplication. Because 1% compounds. That's the secret. You don't see it at first. Nothing looks different. Then suddenly, everything does. Not because you changed your life in a weekend, but because you chose to shift 1% at a time. This isn't a hack. This is who you become. And that is the most powerful math there is. Chapter 3. Why we resist small steps. Small is boring. Small is invisible. Small doesn't impress anyone. And that's exactly why we resist it. We want big, fast, noticeable. We want proof we're changing. We want applause. We want certainty. But here's the trap. Small steps don't give you dopamine. They give you progress. And progress is slow, quiet, private. Most people don't quit because it's hard. They quit because it's not exciting anymore. They don't feel dramatic results. They don't feel different. So they assume it's not working. And they start over again. Here's the truth. Change isn't a feeling. It's a direction. And small steps, they're not less valuable. They're more honest. They teach you to move without the high, to show up without the spotlight, to believe without immediate reward. That's real transformation. And the ones who embrace the small, they're the ones who grow the most. Because they stop chasing the illusion and start walking the path. One step, one day, 1%. That's how you win. Chapter 4. The compounding power of daily action. Here's the part no one tells you. Most things don't change instantly. They change gradually. Then suddenly, that's the power of compounding. One page, one workout, one moment of patience won't change your life today. But stacked daily, they'll reshape your future. Every action sends a signal. Not to the world, to your brain. It says, this is who we are now. This is what we do. This is our new normal. And the brain listens. Not to what you promise, but to what you repeat. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You don't need to go big. You need to go again. Because when you move 1% a day, you don't just add, you multiply. And over time, that becomes unstoppable. The small done daily becomes the shift you never saw coming. Not with force. With frequency. Not with hype. With habit. This is how change sneaks up on you. Not as a moment, but as a new identity. Built one quiet action at a time. Chapter 5. Forget motivation. Trust repetition. Motivation is a spark. But repetition is fire. You don't stay consistent because you're inspired. You stay consistent because you've decided. Motivation says, let's do it when we feel like it. Repetition says, we do it anyway. Most people wait to feel right before they act. The gritty ones, they act and the feeling follows. That's the shift. Motivation is emotional. Repetition is structural. Motivation wants intensity. Repetition wants rhythm. You can't rely on moods. You build systems. You build identity. And repetition is the fastest way to do that. You brush your teeth every day. Not because it's thrilling, but because it's who you are. Apply the same logic to your habits, your health, your mindset, your dreams. Don't wait to feel ready. Repeat until it's real. Because repetition builds evidence. Evidence builds belief. Belief builds consistency. And consistency? It rewires your life. You don't need to feel more. You need to do more of the right things. Quietly. Daily. That's how the 1% wins. That's how the shift begins. Chapter 6. From micro actions to macro identity. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Not a performance. A pattern. When you do something once, it's an event. When you do it daily, it becomes a personality. You don't need to force identity change. You build it. From the ground up, one micro action at a time. You want to be confident? Speak honestly, today. You want to be focused? Put your phone down now. You want to be disciplined? Do the thing, especially when it's small. It's not about changing your life in one decision. It's about shifting who you believe you are. Your brain doesn't care what you say. It watches what you repeat. Each repetition says, this is me now. This is what we do. This is who I am. And suddenly, you're not forcing habits. You're living from a new place. Micro actions don't just build routines. They build identity. And identity is what makes change permanent. Not willpower, not hype, but alignment. The question isn't, what do I want to achieve? It's, who am I proving myself to be today? And every 1% is a chance to answer that question with action. Chapter 7. What happens after 30 days? You don't need a year. You don't need a plan so perfect it scares you. You need 30 days of honesty, of repetition, of micro commitments kept. Because here's what happens. In the first 10 days, you'll feel resistance, doubt. Your old self screaming, this won't last. Days 11 to 20, you'll feel bored, like nothing's changing, like it's not working, but it is. Because by day 21, your brain starts updating the blueprint. You've shown up enough to start becoming someone else. By day 30, you don't need to force it anymore. You do it because it feels normal, not easy, natural. And the results? They're rarely dramatic, but they're undeniable. You think clearer. You pause before reacting. You trust yourself a little more. That's the reward. Not a perfect life, but a stronger identity. And the best part? You now have evidence. Proof that you can change, that you can stay, that you can grow. You don't need to feel ready. You need 30 days of truth. After that, you're not just acting different. You are different. Chapter 8. What if you never stopped? Forget the finish line for a moment. Forget the outcome. Forget the goal. Ask yourself this. What if I never stopped? What if I showed up through the boredom, through the doubt, through the noise? What if I kept stacking 1% even when no one noticed? Even when I didn't feel like it? Even when it looked like nothing was changing? What if the shift wasn't about getting somewhere, but about becoming someone? What if every quiet act was building something I couldn't see yet? Most people quit before the compound effect kicks in. They stop right before momentum explodes. They miss the tipping point because they were looking for fireworks instead of roots. But you could keep going. Not because it's easy, but because you finally understand that progress doesn't always announce itself. That change isn't loud. That evolution doesn't need a stage. It just needs consistency. So forget day 1. Forget day 30. What happens at day 90? Day 100? What happens when you don't stop? Answer that. Then live it. Chapter 9. The math of transformation. Let's talk numbers. 1% a day doesn't sound like much, but mathematically, it's a revolution. Improve by just 1% daily. And after 1 year, you're not 2x better. You're 37 times risk better. That's the power of compounding. Small change stacked daily becomes exponential. Not because the action gets bigger, but because the person gets stronger. And the opposite? It's just as real. 1% worse every day, you won't notice it at first. Then one day you wake up, and you don't recognize your life anymore. That's how people end up lost. Not in one choice, but in small choices made mindlessly. So here's the deal. You're compounding something, whether you're aware of it or not. The only question is, what direction are you multiplying? Because 1% is never neutral. Every day you cast a vote. You reinforce a path. You confirm a pattern. That's the math of transformation. Not magic, not luck. Just small, repeated proof that you are choosing who you want to be. Chapter 10. Your 1% starts today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not after you feel ready. But today. Because there is no perfect starting point. There is only this one. And that's enough. You don't need to be confident. You need to be honest. You don't need a plan. You need a decision. What's your 1% today? Maybe it's closing the tab, drinking water, finishing what you started, saying no or saying yes to yourself. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. The kind of action that whispers, I'm done pretending, I'm done pausing, I'm done waiting for permission. This is how change begins, not by rewriting your entire life, but by taking one small step in the right direction and then doing it again tomorrow. So ask yourself, what would change if I simply never stopped? That's the question. That's the challenge. That's your power. Not a miracle, just momentum. Not a breakthrough, just a beginning. 1% is small, but small is sustainable. And sustainable is unstoppable. Your shift doesn't need noise. It needs proof. So make today your proof. This is your time. This is your shift. This is Mental Shift Academy.